Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video on the channel. Inside of today's video, we're going to be putting every single team that has reached the World Finals into a tier list for you guys. This is the type of video I don't normally do because I don't normally like putting certain teams in certain tiers because it can feel a little bit mean a lot of the time. But I think it makes for good content. And again, this is just my personal opinion for esports to grow and just to try and get as many eyes on this event as possible. I think I'll do my bit here. Again, like a lot of esports teams do this as well. Pro players even do this, which I definitely wouldn't do if I was a pro player because I believe in bad karma for sure. And you don't want to give the opponents any extra incentive to try and beat you. So yeah, that's just my thoughts on tier list overall then. So here we have a tier list overall, and we're going to be going through one by one. Just randomly, I'll be picking teams out and putting them in a specific tier and just giving you guys the reasons as to why I think they're there. So let's start off with a team from EMEA, of course. We're going to be starting off with a nice, easy one. We're going to start off with SK Gaming. So SK Gaming, I'm going to put in the S tier right there. So SK Gaming, as you guys know, there have been an insane team all year. SK Gaming with Ope, Yoshi, and Joker have just been an absolute joke. No pun intended. No, they have been such a solid team. The number one team from EMEA. They've been going, well, they've been better than Humble in the regular season. So in terms of monthly finals, online, when it comes down to LAN, they've just came short. They came short at the World Finals. They just came short at the Brawl Cup, coming second. And that was a very, very close game. So they're going toe-to-toe with Humble. When you look at the scrim rates as well, their scrim win rates are some of the best out there. And you guys know SK, they're absolute juggernauts of EMEA. And they will always, in my mind, I think they're definitely one of the top teams easily on paper, top 3 team, in my opinion. They just have to be. They've got Joker. He's like the mechanical wizard. He can just play so many brawlers perfectly. He rarely makes a mistake. I think he made one mistake last World Finals, and that's when I was like, whoa, Joker made a mistake. They still ended up winning the game, I believe. And then Yoshi's such an underrated player because he can pretty much play every single brawler. He'll normally play the brawlers that other people don't want to play, like the throwers or just the kind of brawlers like roughs, etc. But he just plays them so well, and after facing off against him a lot, he's a real big pain to face off against. And then you got Ope as well. He matches Joker's energy really well. 2 explosive players, 2 players that like to play the really get in your face brawlers for tanks, the assassins, the maxes, etc. The flashy brawlers. So SK got really good synergies there, really good team, and on paper they are a top team. But let's see whether that correlates inside of this meta. Of course, there's always question marks for every single team to answer. So let's move on to my next team then. So I'm going to go with a team from East Asia here. I'm going to talk about Reject. So I'm going to put Reject in the A tier. This one's a bit risky to put in the A tier, I still think, because they could, well, most teams can go one of 2 ways. They could either be, a big revelation and, surpass expectations. They could even potentially go towards the S tier, obviously if they make a good run. But they could also flop on LAN because I don't think their team has a whole ton of LAN experience. I think multiple of their members were in World Finals last year and they had a good showing for Rival. But I think with Reject, the thing that's kind of catching my eye is just how good mechanically they are. Their scrims have been looking really good. Again, after watching a ton, they look like a really solid team. And they've been going neck and neck with pretty much every single team at the World Finals in terms of scrims right now. So it all depends on whether they can actually turn up this gameplay on game day, because I believe they can. They've definitely gone under the radar. They're the 2nd seed in the East Asia and they're looking solid. So I think A tier is fair. But I think that's maybe a little bit above most people would probably put them, or just about. I don't think you can really argue S tier just yet. But I think they had the potential for it. I'm definitely rooting for Reject to cause a bit of an upset this time around. So now we're going to be moving on to, let's take a look here. So I'm going to go with, again, a bit unpopular here. I'm going to go with SSG and I'm going to go B tier. So the reason I'm going to go B tier, again, they're a really solid team, and in terms of the actual players on the team, but I love all of them. So again, it's my personal opinion. I don't want to put any bad words for them because I will be rooting for them. I'll be rooting for a lot of teams, but definitely for Bobby, for Stans, for Chino, really love these guys. But this is just on paper, right? Like if you take a look at their year, if you take a look at what they've had to go through, I know Bobby's had a ton of personal issues, which you cannot help. I've been there, I've done that. And it can make a big well, it can work in one of 2 ways, right? It can work, you can use like that sort of things against you, and then, you know, that gets into your head, and then, you know, that affects your gameplay. Or you can use that as like, okay, you know, I've had these tough times, let's use that as like a booster, and let's just do even better. Let's just go on, and then, you know, it can make this magical story, right? So let's see how SSG seasons goes. In terms of scrims, they have been looking fairly decent. I'd say their scrim preparation before going to Europe, though, was very sketch. Their win rate was really low, and just overall the conditions were terrible. So that might play a big factor, in my opinion, in terms of their performance. I think NA as a region has just gone really backwards, and, you know, I'm not even just saying that for the banter times side of things, because I'm a Tribe creator, I'm a Tribe fan. I want NA to do good, and in 2023 I really wanted them to do good. I was like actually rooting for them ahead of EU teams, but I just think the practices are just really hard in terms of just like where they're located geographically, in terms of the servers, etc. It seems to be going backwards, so maybe we might see more NA pros like Zar move over to EU, like OG tried it in the past as well. I think that would be a good shot for most of these NA pros. But next up, let's move on to another team here, and let's go with, I'm going to go with Heretics now. So another team from EMEA, and Heretics have been looking really strong. So I'm actually going to put them above Rejects, because in terms of, if you look at, okay, so there's so much drama going on with scrims, right? And I'm just kind of sick and tired just talking about scrims so much over and over and over again. But this is like the only data that a lot of the casuals really have to go off. In that sense, like there's been even more coverage on scrims, more so this year than probably all the years combined, because of a bunch of Spanish creators, which is great, because as a community you want to see pro scrims, right? Like, for example, I watch Call of Duty Esports. I always want to at least I'm interested in the scrim results for teams, but they keep that very private. And then Brawl Stars, you know, you could look at the data on like Brawlify or I don't know, whatever API system. You could always look at the data, but you can never actually watch the teams and how they perform. But now you can, you know, thanks to a lot of these pro teams, they're letting you broadcast it. So the reason why I mentioned it with Heretics, because there's been a bunch of drama with Chaos and Semantic, etc. But and also just a bunch of like Heretic fans, because whenever like at the start, you know, Heretics, they were winning scrims, but they were losing some scrims as well, right? But when you lose a scrim, a lot of fans just started piling on the hate. Not all fans, but it's just scrims at the end of the day. It's a way to practice. But I will say the overall data is a good indication on whether a team is good or right. Like, you can't deny the facts, right? Like, you can clearly see with some teams like SKC, you know, no offense to them, but they've got like a low win rate, and if you watch them, you just know they're not that great. And then you go on to teams like Humble in the past, you've seen their scrim rate, win rate, it was really high. And then you took a look at the gameplay at World Finals, it correlated. So with Heretics, the same can be said. Like, they've got a lot of question marks, but their scrim data is looking good. They're looking good as a team. Their draft is improving. Everything is improving in terms of their team cohesion. Like, you think of Zai, most of the time he can play really good aggressive brawler, but then he can also play the brawler that not a lot of people like to play, you know, like the ticks and the kind of those type of brawlers. And then you got Lenane, one of the best tank aggro players there's ever been in Brawl Stars history. Then again, Chaos, it really always turns up when it comes down to lands. He really does. He's always like the best player on his team on land day. So yeah, Heretics could be like a Humble, where a lot of people might underestimate. Of course, Heretics fans won't underestimate them. They'll be like making them out to be one of the best teams in the world, because that's what you do when you support a team. But I think in the non-biased fans' views, they could really defy expectations at this World Finals. Let's move on to the next team then. So next team, I'm going to go with SKC. So I don't want to put any team in the D tier, but I might have to. I mean, I'll put them C tier now. So SKC, yeah, I just don't know what's really going on with them. I don't know whether their like practice conditions are bad. I don't know whether they're just behind as a region, they're behind as players. In terms of them as a team, you know, I was a bit apprehensive at first, but they still automatically qualified for World Finals, right? From South America. I know South America are, on paper, they are probably the weakest region. But at the same time, they are often underestimated a lot of time. You think of Brawl in LCQ, you think of Loud at Brawl Cup, you know, put out some good performances. And over the years, there have been good performances from South America. There's always an upset in them, but they never make a run. They never make a bracket run. And that's always the thing that hurts South America's reputation. So, yeah, for SKC, they're performing the worst in scrims. A lot of people are saying they're not that great. So, C tier for now. Maybe even lower. Again, like, I think their players are good, but maybe this is just, this opportunity just came in a little bit too quickly. A lot of these players first time at World Finals, etc. So next up, we have Revenant. So Revenant, I'm going to put in the A tier. I'm going to put them below Reject and Heretics, but they have potential. So the one thing I'm disappointed about, guys, honestly, if they would have flown over to Europe quick, like, I'm talking a week, probably quicker than they had now. Like, they've only been in Europe, what, I think, maybe 5 days maximum, maybe even less, I think, time of recording this. They only had like over a week preparation. Some teams flew in like 3 weeks early. So if their preparation was better, if they were from a better region, again, like they were only really scrimming, I think, 1 or 2 teams. They were scrimming up core. I don't know, I can't remember the other team, but they weren't getting the best practice. Let's just face it. So I think if they got more reps against better teams, I think I would have probably, like, even if it was me just being deluded, put them like high A tier, low S tier, because they look so good in LCQ, beating so many amazing teams, and they've kind of got the X factor with Sergeant. But let's see if that correlates on the World Final stage. So they have to up their game again, but their teamwork seems really good. In terms of their drafting as well, it's not like surprising, but it's very aggressive. The way that they play is super aggressive and super momentum based. So if they can gain the momentum again, they can definitely cause some big upsets. Next up, we've got Zeta. So let's put our next team into the S tier here. Zeta, another great team from East Asia. And starting off the year, I had question marks over Zeta and Crazy Raccoon. I was unsure on which team would be the better one, but as the monthly finals went on, I think it's quite clear very quickly that Zeta were better than Crazy Raccoon. Not to, anything against Crazy Raccoon, but Zeta just looked really good, especially like Levi. I always knew was a really quality player, especially for years, but he just never had the results to back up his overall gameplay and his overall mechanics. But now he's with probably the best player of all time, Saitampo, and then Suzuki as well to round it up. They just look like a really good team. The one thing that will let Zeta down, though, at World Finals, as always with teams from East Asia, is the drafting. The drafting, a lot of the time, is a little bit behind EMEA, but I think Zeta flew out quite early on to get to grasp with the meta, and from what I've seen in scrims or whatever else, they look really clean. They look insanely clean, and I think this is the type of meta that definitely benefits a team like Zeta. I think they are more so that, like, on the control side, mechanical players, mechanical brawlers. If the meta was what it was a couple of months ago, a lot of his NA teams and EMEA teams would go up because they're more used to tanks and aggressive brawlers. So not a lot of tanks in this meta. Zeta can benefit from that because in a pure 1 versus 1, they're going to be winning most of those interactions, right? They're just insane. So Zeta and S tier, no debates about that. So Crazy Raccoon is next, and I feel quite harsh in saying this. I really do, and they might prove me wrong. Okay, so I'm going to go with, I feel like it's going to be too many teams in the A tier, though. I'm going to have to bomb low A tier because I got Tensai. They got the Tensai X factor, and I can't ignore it. But I could easily put them high B tier as well. So Crazy Raccoon, the reason why I'm saying this is because I just was so disappointed in their LCQ gameplay. Their drafting was awful sometimes. Their gameplay just left a lot to be desired. The thing about like Tensai teams and Saitampo teams, you always have that fear factor. You know that like at any moment they can just take over their game. But to me, it just didn't really feel like that when watching Crazy Raccoon. I don't know whether it's something within their team play. Maybe, Milkro is a great player, but maybe he isn't a great fit for Crazy Raccoon. I hate to say these things because I really like the players on Crazy Raccoon, but they have a lot of questions to answer, in my opinion. I know that Moya and Tensai are insane players because they literally came second last year as well. And you just can't deny that they're insane players, but I think currently they are behind a bit of these other teams in the A tier. They just are, on paper at least. So next up, we've got Loud. So Loud, I'm going to be putting in the B tier as well. So again, they've shown a lot of promise in Brawl Cup, in practices, and it always pains for me to put them lower, but you just can't ignore the historical data behind North American team, South American teams. You just can't. You can't ignore the fact that they pretty much, have they ever reached a semi-final? I can't remember off the top of my head. I don't think they have reached a semi-final. They always like come close, and they always look like they can do like a really big upset, but it's never happened in Brawl Esports history. So for that reason, I feel like you'd never put a South American team in the A tier, which is unfortunate because they have a lot of energy, they have a lot of passion, and if momentum is on their side, it can be dangerous. But we've seen multiple reverse sweeps against them in their region. Maybe this could be the year for Loud, though. Definitely they're going to be the best team from their region, and like I said, they've put in a ton of practice in the EMEA, but will it be enough? I'm not 100% sure, so B tier is where I'm going to put them. Next up, we have Foot then. So I'm going to be putting Foot in the top of the A tier, guys. So I'm going to put them ahead of Heretics, mainly because of just the type of players that Foot are, right? So if you're talking purely scrims and which team is looking better right now, probably Heretics might be a little bit better. But I think in terms of Foot, you can't ignore the world champions. They've won so many monthly finals over the years. I know this might be previous metas. You know, a lot changes in Brawl Stars in literally a couple of months. You know, the best teams can literally flip on its head. It's Brawl Esports. You've got to be always on the top of your game. But Foot are looking really good. They're looking insane in script. Like their team play, it just looks pretty much back to its former level, in my opinion. It really looks like they've put in the grind, they've put in the amount of hours in draft that they need. It's just whether they put it down on to game day, but I think they can. They're not really a team that like chokes under pressure, in my opinion. They always are locked in. That's why people call them robots, but that's very commendable. To be super locked in like that, it is what you need, and the kind of ice in your veins that you need to win another World Finals. So I think they could be a contender. I'm kind of leaning towards putting them at the bottom of the S tier, so I might change that at the end. So next up, we've got Novo. So Novo, I'm going to put in the B tier. Again, these could definitely bring up an upset. They definitely can. Novo have won a monthly final this year, but it was a lot of people questioning it because of the meta, you know, the super unbalanced brawlers, hyperchargers, etc. But they really adapted well to that meta, so you got to give them props to that. But then this year, to be fair, they're one of the only teams to qualify for like every single monthly final in the EMEA, so you've got to, they're incredibly consistent. It's just whether they have the, you know, the ability, the momentum to go up that extra level, which of course, you know, when I'm looking at things in black and white, I can't really with any substance or any data put them in the A tier. You know, these A tier teams have performed on LAN. They're performing on a consistent basis, or they've been there, done that before. And you know, I could be coming at the end of the World Finals and easily putting Novo in the A tier, but I've just got to go through the facts here, and I've got to put them in the B tier. So next up, we have got Totem. So Totem, again, I'm going to be putting it into the B tier. So I'm going to put them high. To be fair, I feel like Novo have been performing better than Totem, but I can't ignore, for me, the just the players on Totem. I can't ignore it. Every time I talk about them, I don't get upset, but I get a little bit sad because it's like these players have just been known to be on some of the best teams throughout the years and always putting out insane world final runs, and they always get close to just greatness. You know, these players have won so many lands, etc., but it's just not worked for them this season at all. They had question marks last year as well. They turned up at world finals, but I just don't know whether I just don't know with Totem. I don't know. Let's see if Drake can cook up some drafts. Let's see if their team energy is there. But they really need to find that extra level within them this season. I don't know where it's going to come from. But if they have, the thing is with Totem, in terms of their like peak, they have the peak. They have the players for it. You know, Angel Boy last season, I predicted him to win this year's World Finals because of just his level was absolutely insane last year. It was crazy. When Angel Boy's on land, he just does some things that not many players can do, really. Even like in the levels of Saitampo, he's insane. So yeah, they could easily be like an A tier team. They could definitely make an underdog story, but yeah, I can't really put them much higher. And this is where we're going to put Papara SuperMassive as well. So again, another team that is looking pretty solid. I would actually put them, I'm going to put them above Totem. You know what? I'm going to put them above Totem. This is, again, most fans would probably put Papara near the bottom just because they haven't really done the research on them. But in scrims, they've been looking fantastic. And LCQ, this is where I was very, very impressed with them. So I knew they were at a good level. But their practices were pretty sketched. And I'm like, okay, they've got some question marks. They could do themselves a disservice here. But they were just insane. They were probably one of the best looking teams, and not enough people are talking about it. So they've gone really under the radar for me. Papara SuperMassive, especially since the addition of Enraged. He's like that X factor, and he can make some really good plays with a lot of aggressive brawlers. Then you've got Tomsy, he's like the foundation of the team. He's going to be the level head. And then you've got Fleepo as well, who can pretty much make pop-off plays. And all of these players are really underrated, but I can't really put them in the A tier just yet, you know, putting them on terms with Crazy Raccoon. I just can't do that. So next up, we've got Tribe. So Tribe, I'm going to put into the A tier. And if we're being... This pains for me to say, because I want to be really biased. I'm going to put them... I'm going to put them here. I'm going to put them here. Ugh. See, I'm being biased. I'd put them here. Unbiased, I'll probably put them here. Maybe below even Reject. Let's just put them there for now, because Tribe, I think they've got a lot of question marks. They have. So in terms of Tribe's potential, in terms of how I saw them midway through the year, I saw them as easily top 4 team. I saw them, you know, on with Humble, Zeta, SK Gaming on the S tier. I really did. Mechanically, they looked insane. Their draft was perfect. But as this season has gone on, their level has dropped. And I've just got to be real. As a Tribe creator, as a Tribe fan, something just has gone a little bit amiss. I don't know whether it's their drafting, their team play. It just seems... I don't know, like I want to be optimistic though, so I have been looking at their like scrim data recently, and they've definitely been turning things up, but I just don't know whether that's going to be at their level to really make, like, to win the champion. You know what I mean? Like I still consider them like a top 5 team at heart, but I just can't ignore all of the like scrim data going behind things. You know, I've been watching a few of their like drafts, and I'm like, this is a bit sketch, but they have their level. I think they definitely have their level. You know, put them in the A tier. Like all of these A tier teams can win world finals, basically what I'm saying. They have the ability. It'll just be more of like, not upset, but like they're not the favorites, if that makes sense. So all of these teams, so many teams can win world finals this year, which is what I really love. And Tribe have a great chance. So if they can refine their form from last year or beginning of the season, easily they can win the world finals. So next up we have, why Elevate here? Okay, there's 17. Yeah, I don't know why Elevator in this one, but we have Stamina, so we're gonna have to put Stamina in the C tier as well, alongside SKC. So Stamina, it's a bit of a tough one with them. So they got very fortunate, just like I did in 2019, with getting a world final spot because of Elevate dropping out. Again, a lot of drama behind that. That allowed Stamina to go from LCQ to world finals and allowed Team Electros to go to LCQ. But Stamina just haven't been at the level in scrims. I don't want to say they look disinterested, because they don't, but they just, the other teams just look that much better than them overall. So I don't know what to really say about Stamina. I don't know, especially after well, Pioneers. It's basically 2 of Pioneers members are in this team as well from last year, and Pioneers did look awful last year. They didn't look at it at all. So yeah, in terms of their data from previous seasons, it's not looking the best, but they can definitely prove people wrong. You know, it's Brawl Stars at the end of the day. If they can lock in at the right moment, they can definitely prove people wrong, but I just don't think it right now. So lastly, we have Humble. So let's try and order this as much as possible here. So Humble, you guys know Humble right now. Humble are looking absolutely insane as always. They won Brawl Cup. They won the last World's Finals. They've been getting better and better as the season goes on. So with Humble, they've got 3 amazing players. So let's go through them quickly. Semantic, he is the brains behind most things. In terms of draft, he helps Kanan, but Semantic, one thing that always amazed me, like I always talk to him behind the scenes, you know, if I'm struggling in a draft in ranked, or if I'm looking for a counter to a specific brawler, I'll ask Semantic, and he won't just give me like a quick response. He would just thoroughly be explaining everything in terms of interactions, what you need to do. You know, if he's coaching someone, he's really thorough with it. So he's got the brains, which, you know, my time we're playing with him, I had some brains, but he was just on a new level. And it's kind of crazy because bro doesn't even grind ladder, or he just plays scrims, and he just knows so much about the game. And then you've got like Lukey. A lot of people say he's like the best player in the world right now. After watching scrims, I think he does look like the best player in the world. And then we have Boss, who is again like an insane player. So that's going to be my tier list right there, guys. Let me know where you're going to be putting these teams in a tier list. I'll be interested to see if any of your opinions are wrong. But I think if you're looking at pure facts here, you're talking about how these teams are performing on paper and how their chances. So S tier, they're like the 3 favorites. A tier, they can win world finals, but they just need maybe a bit of luck, maybe a bit of momentum, and they've got a chance. B tier, I just don't think their time is now to win the world finals, but you know, even SSG can definitely, like, it would be a bit crazy for them to win the world finals, but it'd be like, okay, they still possess the power, honestly. But then C tier, sadly, I just don't think they have even a chance to win world finals, which seems a bit harsh because I don't like being too harsh on players, but it's just kind of where it is. But anyways, that's gonna be it for today's video, guys. Hope you enjoyed this more fun video and the gameplay behind it. But yeah, this is my chances, like what teams I think are going to win it. In terms of my prediction overall, I kind of want to go with, I'll have to let you guys know on Twitter. I don't actually know. Humble are the favorites on paper, but I'll make my absolute prediction on Twitter probably in the next few days. But that's going to be it. I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you guys next time.